So with Tom and Mitch's project, we have the piece above the drawer, the piece below the drawer, so the drawer fits in between those. And the span between the legs here has to be consistent with what's on the aprons. So we measure the length of the apron here that you'll be able to see, not including the tenons that are on here. He has 7/8 inch tenons on here. And we're at 14 and 1/16. So it's a 16th over what the plan's called for. And that's not a big deal. We're just going to make sure that the piece that we have in the front here is also. So if I measure the length of this, it's 16 inches on the nose. And I need to have 14 and 1/16. So that's not quite an inch each for each of these. And I do that with my combination square, or I have a small square here that doesn't have a 45-degree angle on it, but I'm also able to extend it to whatever length I want. So I set it to just under an inch, put them across there, make two little marks, and I want to check and make sure that that length is identical to what the span of the aprons are also. So I'm at 14 and 1/16. Okay? So, that being said, I want to draw out some dovetails on here that I'll be able to trace onto the tops of my legs that I can cut this out for. So, I'm going to draw those up now. I have the two lines here. I'll take my square, hold the square to the edge there, and draw this line across. Flip it, do the exact same thing. Okay, just make sure again that my lines are 14 and 1/16 apart from each other. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. So it's a hair under that, but that's okay. I'll make sure I leave my line when I cut these. So what we're going to be doing is putting a dovetail on the ends of that. We'll lay the dovetail out with our sliding T-bevel. So right now, you find one of the legs it's going to go into. Here's one of our front legs here. So that's the front. That's where it's coming in for the back side there. Front right. So I'm looking at it like this. So I'm going to be coming across in this direction where the dovetail is going to be on the top there. So my piece is the same width as my leg. So my dovetail can't go all the way out to the edges there because then it would be hitting into the outside, going through the faces of this, and you'd be able to see it. So I'm going to make sure I leave myself at least 1/8 of an inch there, because with my chisel I feel like I can clean out 1/8 of an inch without blasting through. So what that says is I'm going to come in 1/8 of an inch from each of the edge there. Now let me go a little bit more than 1/8. So on this piece here, I'm going to go ahead and draw a line there, spin it, and draw the same things over here. And so I'm doing tails first when I'm cutting this out. I'm going to do the tails, then I'm going to put it on top of the leg, and I'll be able to cut that out how I want it to be. So I've left myself about 3/16 to the sides here, and then I want to come into the middle of this thing. And I want to come in, there's all kinds of rules, or I say guidelines, in terms of what angles you use for dovetails. And they have rules for hardwoods and rules for softwoods and so forth. But I think we're going to try to make the inside part here. We're 1.5 inches wide, so I'll mark the center at 3/4. And then I'm going to come over 3/8 from each side of that. There, and right there. So I want to set my gauge, my bevel, my angle to what that angle is going to be to connect those two dots. And now let's flip it over to the other side as well. Okay, I like that. I'll tighten that there.
Hey, this is Nicole from Philadelphia.
Flip it.
XPN and public radio because of the community who feels like family and programming we can't find anywhere else.
So that's the dovetail that I'm going to be putting onto the ends of these.
Visit xpn.org to learn more and use the hashtag #LovePublicRadioMusic.
I'm using, really, generally you would use this from the end and come at the angle there, but there's not a whole lot of reference there, so I'd rather reference this. You rarely see a sliding T-bevel set up like that. So I want to cut those two out. So I'm going to actually cut them out with the bandsaw. I'll cut my shoulders off with the table saw. I'll have my fence to the side here so I can cut the shoulder, leaving the line, so I'll still have my 14 and 1/16 in between there. And I'll bring my saw blade's gonna cut like up right about to here, there, and I'm gonna take that side off also. And then I'll go ahead and I'll cut in with my bandsaw, these two lines here. And I'm gonna clean up with a file before I go ahead and mark that onto the top of the legs.